Dave Ehrenberg, state attorney for Trump's home district of Palm Beach County, Florida. Good to see you, my friend. So look, it is important to viewers and remind them how we got here. But will the immunity ruling come down to parsing Trump's actions that day to determine what could be considered presidential?
Good to be back with you, Alex. I think the Supreme Court is going to have a divided opinion where they're going to set up some rules for future courts to determine whether a president's actions fall under their official duties or their personal, private duties as a civilian. Now, when it comes to Trump, it's pretty obvious what he did in trying to interfere with the election was not in his role as president. The White House has no role in elections. That's left to the states. But the Supreme Court can't control itself. They're going to set up this scheme that will force Judge Chutkan to then consider the factors and have a fact-finding hearing, a mini trial, if you will. So bad news is, my prediction is that this means the D.C. case won't happen before the election. But silver lining, this mini trial that I think will happen will expose Trump's actions before, during, and after January 6th for all the public to see.
Okay, which ones? Which of Trump's actions on January 6th do you think can be fair game for criminal prosecution?
The fake elector scheme. I mean, that is fair game. That's clearly illegal. I think that one is really a focal point of Jack Smith's case against Donald Trump. And just the whole getting people to the Capitol, setting them loose, knowing that many of them are armed, saying, well, let's tear down the metal detectors. We don't need them. You know, all of his actions, his refusal to step in, to call the National Guard to get troops there, his comments afterwards about we love you, you're so perfect, all that stuff can be used against him. And I think none of that stuff is within his role as president of the United States. So this should be a no-brainer. I'm so frustrated with the Supreme Court that they're even stepping into this. But even though I think Trump will lose in this ruling in the long run, he wins by the fact that this case is now delayed. This case should have happened already. You had Jack Smith and a judge and Judge Chutkan who wanted this thing to go, but I don't think it's going to go before the election now.
Can I just again quote the very last part of what we played of Donald Trump from January 6th? He says, "We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, we're not going to have a country anymore." I mean, was that telling those supporters what to do, to go fight like hell?
Yeah. He will say, well, you forgot about this, the line that I said about go peacefully march. But you can't divorce all the other stuff. You can't ignore all the other stuff he did and didn't do. You know, you as president, you can't sit there in your dining room and look with assent, with approval upon people ransacking the Capitol. You have duties as president. And his actions, his words, and his lack of actions, I think, build to this moment where he would be held accountable if this goes to a jury. But if he becomes president again, it's never going before a jury because Trump will tell his attorney general to drop all the federal cases against him.
So let's look at the logistics here of the court, because analysts are comparing the speed at which the Supreme Court dispatched the case that kept Trump on the ballot in Colorado with its apparently sluggish pace resolving this immunity claim. Is it fair, Dave, to conclude that the court acted to Trump's benefit? And what are the implications of that?
Chief Justice Roberts wants us to believe that this is an apolitical court, but yet when it came to making sure Trump got on the ballot in Colorado and other states, they acted with speed. They acted swiftly. Now, when it's about whether Trump should stand trial before the election, they have dragged their feet. And it looks like Chief Justice Roberts has lost control of his court, and the radicals on the court, the Alitos, the Thomases, now are in control. So, yes, I'm very bothered by it. Just the looks of it looks terrible for this court. It's hard to say that this court is above politics when you see what's going on.
And tomorrow, Trump ally Steve Bannon is reporting to prison for defying a 1-6 committee subpoena. And here's what former lead investigator Tim Hafey told me about that yesterday.
Alex, we have phone records that he was in direct communication with then President Trump on January 5th, that he was involved in the discussions in advance about this political strategy to disrupt the joint session. He actually, in this very foreboding clip, which has been played again and again, we played in our hearings, says, get ready tomorrow, all hell's going to break loose. It sort of suggests that he was aware of some of the potential violence and nefarious activity that was afoot.
I mean, how much does this give you pause, seeing that Bannon remains a top ally in Trump's 2024 reelection bid, Dave?
Yeah, and he's getting away with it, even though he's going to prison. And I don't know if he's going to be allowed to wear multiple shirts underneath the orange jumpsuit. That's his trademark. But it looks so bad that he was able to avoid having to testify about his and Trump's role in January 6th. He could have provided really important information for Jack Smith, but he never said a word. And as a result, he's going to prison for 4 months. But in the end, that would have been compelling evidence against Trump in his trial in Washington, D.C. But he stayed quiet. And if Trump gets elected again, he will return to the White House triumphantly in a role very close to the president.
Okay, Dave Ehrenberg, thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.